This morning I'm going to be making roasted potatoes in my convection oven. It's a little NuWave Infrared Convection Oven that I got at thrift store a few weeks ago when my regular oven died. It does a really good job with this, so we're going to be doing it today and I'll show you how that works. In addition to potatoes, I'm going to be using olive oil. You can use avocado oil, whatever you like to use as an oil for this sort of thing. I also have this onion salt from Trader Joe's. Somebody gave this to me. It's a bunch of different onions plus salt. Let me show you what it looks like. Kind of is got some green in here and all sorts of colors. I don't know if you can see that, but it's good. So I'm going to be using that. You can use any seasoning you want. Also, because I'm doing the convection oven thing, I'm going to be using some parchment paper. So let's get started. I've cut my potatoes up into small chunks. You can cut them up however you want. When I was cutting these up, I thought you could probably cut them up into long spears if you want. But I like this particular size for potato salad, for eating. I don't know why I always default to these little chunks. But whatever you want to do is fine. However you cut the potatoes could also affect the cooking time. So, you know, bear that in mind also. I'm going to add some olive oil, just enough to coat the potatoes. And just mix that up, just enough to coat. I'm going to add now the onion salt, and you can add, again, anything you want. Rosemary would be good with this along with the onion salt, or garlic salt, or garlic powder, or whatever you want. It's kind of a personal thing. Or you can do it different each time. So I'm just going to sprinkle a bunch on. Again, this sort of seasoning is not a exact science. Some of these seasonings that you can use for everything, like their, you know, complete seasonings or whatever, they're very good, but they can have quite a bit of salt in them. So you have to be a little wary of that. And if you're using something like this onion salt or anything else, which is like a combo seasoning, don't use a lot of it. If you have salt problems, or if you don't have salt problems, don't add salt to this because there's already plenty of salt in here. So hopefully I made myself clear on that. So I'm just going to mix that up, and then we'll start arranging them for the NuWave oven. My NuWave has two racks, like a low rack and a high rack. You can see those. This I think is a 4-inch rack. This is the 1-inch rack. Now there's a way, evidently, you can stack them to have an even higher rack. I don't read directions to anything. I just experiment, so I have no idea how you stack these and what you'd use them for and how that even works. But for potatoes, I tend to use the high rack. For baking, I use the low rack, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I'm going to be using the high rack for this. So I'm going to get my parchment paper kind of arranged here so it fits on this round rack. I'm putting square parchment paper on a round rack. Isn't there some joke there? I don't know. So the deal with this is because it's convection, there's wind running through it. So when you put the food on here, you kind of have to make sure that all ends of the parchment paper are held down by the food. Otherwise, the parchment paper starts lifting up and you don't get the effect. So I'm going to go ahead and put the potatoes on here right now. I suppose you could use a pan for this, but I like to use parchment paper. So I'm just going to spread these out. One layer also so that the oven can do its thing. Maybe if you had bigger chunks of potato like those spears I was talking about, you could just do it direct on the rack. But in this case, I really prefer to use the parchment paper. Plus I can get kind of lazy about washing dishes. Oh, man. The older I get, the lazier I get about everything. I would apologize, but I don't feel sorry. So here we are. It's pretty well spread out. I'm going to go ahead and stick these in the NuWave right now, just like that. So here they are on the taller rack in the oven, ready to go. The convection oven has basically one temperature setting, which is 350, and it's a matter of the time. So I'm going to put this put the lid on, and then I'm going to put it on. I'm going to hit cook time. I'm going to start with 8 minutes and hit start, and we'll see where it stands. There seems to be no hard and fast rule for this. It's like anything else. Depends on the type of potato, the size of potato, whatever. So I'm going to start with 8 minutes and see where it takes us. And we're off and running. And like I said, I'll check in 8 minutes and see where we stand with these potatoes. As you can see, because the food was distributed across the parchment paper is staying down and not flying up all over the place. It's been 8 minutes, and although everything smells delicious, it's not ready yet, so I'm going to put it in for another 5 minutes and see what happens. So I turned this off about 3 minutes into the extra 5 minutes I had added. So it took a total of 11 minutes for these to cook, and they are perfectly cooked through. They're delicious. They're crispy. I don't know if you can see this, but my oven has a little bit of a blind spot here, and these did not get as browned, and they're not quite as cooked. And what I'm going to do in the future is, you know, maybe since I know it's 11 minutes, maybe 5 or 6 minutes in, I'll stop it, I'll turn it, and then make sure everything gets cooked evenly. But that's just a small issue. So I would say 11 to 12 minutes, depending on the size of your potatoes and what type of potatoes. Don't be afraid to check in the middle, check at the end. It's not an exact science. So I'm going to go and enjoy these for breakfast right now, and hoping you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching.